play better offensively. And part of the reason why we've gone to this style of attack is so that we can be able to move the football against anybody. At least be able to effectively move the football. The scores that we had really weren't quite as gratifying as they ought to be because we didn't really drive the ball. We hit some big plays. And I would have liked to have sustained more drives, which would have given us the opportunity to probably have a little bit better time possession kind of stuff. Let me tell you, when you get in those kind of games, the way you keep the game out of the 70s on your own is by maintaining the football some, and that's what the teams who generally can get in these kind of games and survive do. They can control the football. We didn't block them good enough.
Did you see Q pressing himself a whole lot more than you?
Well, when you get knocked around pretty good around there, you stand your butt back there and see what happens. Yeah, you get the pressing a little bit, and Richard does anyway. Generally, he wants to try to do sometimes too much, but at the same time, it is what it is. He's doing the best he can under his circumstances. That's just kind of his personality. So we've learned to try to accentuate the positive, and try to stay away from the negative.
Well, after these two games, is there anything you can take away out of it, or do you sort of put it aside considering the level of teams you were playing?
Well, you take some things away. I think you got to understand pretty much what you've seen, regardless of the situation. We know that we can probably keep working to develop a pretty good run game versus the people that we can block. And then we got at that point mix it up well enough where we can even keep the better teams of those styles kind of off guard a little bit. You can't allow them to just kind of hone in on any particular portion of your game. And then we're not quite good enough up front to block the real good teams. The big time defensive line guys, overpower us a little bit. And I don't know if there's much you can do about that except for. And as we learn more about the style of offense that we're in, then we figure things out that we probably should stay away from. We had some pass protection problems that we didn't quite understand going into the game, to be perfectly honest with you. It'd be easy for me to say that it was something that was very high level, that kind of stuff. We learn it as we go to a certain point. This offense is new to us. And it's new to the game in general. So we got to figure some things out to make sure that we stay away from those things. But the things that we do see as we go about the experience that give us hiccups of sorts, we think we can recognize them and fix them in a way where we don't continue to have the same problem over again.
Your comments about Tyler Down syndrome, playing fearlessly.
Say again now?
Your comments about Tyler.
Tyler there have been some bright spots on our team. Tyler has been one of the brighter ones. He really has grown up some. And a good bit of what Tyler has experienced, I think, is due to Steve Birdman. And Steve is coaching our wide receivers and special teams, and he was an NFL wide receiver himself. And he's got good understanding of stuff. And he immediately felt that we ought to put Tyler inside to give him more room to work and to give his natural sliminess, his sliveriness, his athleticism a chance to kind of flourish a little bit. And that's helped him a good bit. And you can see him kind of catching on to it and getting a little bit better each week. And he's really catching the ball in his hands. That kind of, you don't see him hugging the ball. That ball is right in his hands. At that point, he's about trying to find right, and he can run too. So once he gets away, you ain't gonna catch him. So it's been fun to watch him, and we got to get him the ball a bunch. He's, I think, maybe like 19, 20 catches away from breaking the record, all-time receiving record here. He's 20 catches away, and he's 300, 400, 500 yards away from breaking the yardage record also. And he keeps going the way he's going at 100 yards a game. I wouldn't think that he'd be any worse off from this point on.
But did you know the raw talent when you recruited him? I'm sure you knew the raw talent.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be a good player, but now we just kept trying to do different things offensively. And as you go through those kind of growing pains, a lot of your talent gets kind of lost in the whole scheme of things sometimes. So I think we on to something here now that's really giving him a chance to really, do good here, and I'm excited for him. And I'm excited for us having the opportunity to have him, be a part of what we're trying to do.
After these two games moving forward, what have you seen moving forward that you can do better against a team like Alabama A&M?
Well, let's hope that we can be faster, get more reps, run more plays, is what I'm trying to say. And, maybe keep them off guard a little bit. And I also hope that we'd be able to mix our offense better against those kind of teams. I think hopefully we can do both sides of the ball in a way where, in the process of mixing what we do, it gives us a chance to be more effective that way.
Well, you're 3-0 here against teams from the SWAC. When you're going against a team from another HBCU conference, is it once again almost like when you're going into these games against FBS teams or other teams from other FCS schools that you're carrying the flag of the conference?
Yeah, I think it's always, some kind of a sign of pride in the fact that you are an MASC school versus SWAC school or whatever have you. When you play against different league schools. This has got some added implications to it also. Coach Jones was here, for a good many years. He's a Coach Jeffries guy, played for coach for coach, all that kind of stuff. Coach here. Got coaches on the staff as a coach here, strength guys, all kinds of guys that we got friendships and associations with. So, you got all kinds of implications that way. Got the IX presidents down there. We got all kinds of friends, who were here, who are there with him now, helping him try to run that fine university down there. So, I think it's a good fit. And I'm excited about having them come up for the weekend and hoping that we can put on a good show.
Even the stadium similar to?
They got turf just like ours, and I didn't recognize that until I stopped about the film. Huh?
I'm saying the front is that way as well.
Is that right? I have not seen. Yeah. I have not been to Huntsville since. You know what? I think I may have gone through there a time or two recruiting. But I hadn't really gone to Huntsville and gone to Alabama A&M and looked around much. So right. Ben was down there with him. Ben Blackmore just passed away. I'd be excited to go and see, kind of look around their place. But I hadn't been since in the 70s when I played there, I don't think.
What's your future with the FBS schools, Coach?
Well, I think we'll continue to work it. You don't ever go backwards, in that kind of experimental sorts. And we'll play Clemson again. I think maybe next. I think we got maybe some of the other mid-level side schools that we got a Bowling Green or something like that next year. So we'll continue to play those kind of schools. And it's always a good source of revenue for us. Our kids enjoy doing it. You have a kid or two, you always can look around. I'm always walking and looking in people's eyes, that kind of stuff, trying to see how people react and see who's enjoying it, who's not. And I see a guy or two sometimes, who you can see a little intimidation there. But the majority of our guys enjoy it, and you can immediately see the guys who belong and the guys who maybe shouldn't ought to be there, that kind of stuff. But you got some guys, when Joe Thomas is out there, let me tell you, you don't have no problem with Joe. Be out there, you can play out there with anybody, and the Kamario McFadden's of the world, and, Reggie Owens, those guys, we got some young bucks out there running around pretty good making some plays. And I think Tyler, he might be able to hang with them guys too, huh? So there's some guys that can, we got some of those guys, we don't have as many as they got, we don't have a whole team full of them, but we got some guys who need that experience and need the opportunity to go out and play against the very best. So,
Coach, shortly after I watched the game, said I covered the game from home Saturday.
Which is good.
I got a call from someone that's asking me to ask you this question. Is it having to play FBS schools, is that an indictment against fan support locally or statewide?
Well, I don't think it's an indictment of our fan base at all. I've got to say that, that I've always been appreciative of the people who come out and see us play. Of course, you always wish there were more of them, and if there were more, then just don't tell you exactly how that would affect the overall process that way, because you would not necessarily do some things that you do for money, in these kind of circumstances. But I think regardless, I think we want to try to do at least one a year. Because
what he added to Coach was this. He said Carolina went 0-21 and had 80,000 people in the stands every game.
Right.
So you can't get 15,000 on average down here. That's what he kept telling me. I said, well, I'll admit Mr. Coach. So that's what he kept.
But our school has never been a big school either. And although over the years, we've been, up and down as far as attendance is concerned, I think we probably averaged better in the last so many odd years than we ever have here. And Rome's not built in a day. You build on these things over time.
That was my comment.
And when we hit on a real big year or two, we got to have a great year one of these years. We hadn't quite, but I think we are, and that's why I keep tapering. Regardless of how well we do, we might could have been better if I hadn't messed with some of the parts of our program, trying to get better, and ended up getting worse. But that's kind of what happens, is that as long as I'm here, and I'm the head football coach at South Carolina State, we will be trying to move and twist and turn, trying to figure out how to make the big year happen. That's what I want to make happen. And if for some reason, somehow or another, I mess it up and we don't necessarily have that happen, then it's all in the name of trying to be great. I don't want to be ordinary. I want to be great here.
Well, when you look at a school like A&T, who got the win over Appalachian State this weekend,
and I'm happy for that. That was the best news I had on Saturday. But go ahead.
But just something like that, as much as you've been trying to get that program to the next level, when you see another school get a win like that you've been trying to get, is that almost frustrating for you?
No, it's not. No, that's. Let me tell you something. You don't ever take any real negative implications from somebody else doing good. The fact that A&T beat us to the punch and beating Appalachian, I say so be it. I want more of our schools. What I really want is for our entire league to improve, and as the A&Ts of the world improve, the rest of our league will improve to the point where we'll eventually, as a league, be strong, and it'll become common, regular, ordinary kind of day stuff at that point. But it's going to take some time. These schools of that sort have been playing the schedules we've been playing. The 1AA style kind of schools playing the big schools of sorts for 20 some odd, 30 some odd years. And we just started to do it the last 4 or 5 years. It all has an effect over time that eventually will give us a chance to, to catch up, and we'll get to some of the things that those guys have gotten to that will give us the opportunity to be those kind of programs also. So we just got to keep working at it. I don't think, it's a race of turtles. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's a consistent trying to continuously find a way to get a little bit better all the time kind of deal. I think sometimes we get frustrated in how slow the process is, but at the same time, the enthusiastic guys of our bunch understand that that it's every little bit counts, and every time you see one of those kind of deals, I take a lot of pride in the fact that we went up there and played them tough a couple of times. It ain't that much space between us and them, and I think they know it, we know it too. We sometimes stump our toe and make some kind of boo boo and end up taking a step backwards. It's like you do 2 steps forward and a step or 2 back, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything better that could have happened to us than that win this past Saturday.
Injury up.
Go ahead, what was the long hiatus between Alabama and them playing South Carolina State?
I don't know. They were in the SWAC. It just hadn't quite worked out. As schedules go, it's hard to make all of what you got to make happen to make a series come together, especially when it's not quite so convenient. It's probably about a 7-mile bus ride from here, and it's just at the point where it's a little bit too far to bus and not quite far enough to fly. So it kind of ends up being, well, let's see, maybe we can find something closer that's will give us a little bit better chance to draw more people. But they drew better last Saturday than we drew the time our first game.
They travel well too, don't they?
I hope so. I hope so. They're about 14. They had about 14,000 Saturday night. So of course it was Tuskegee, which was an in-state kind of HBCU traditional kind of game, and You know, I'm sure there were bunches of Tuskegee folk that came there too, but yeah.
Where do things stand injury-wise, particularly with Julius?
I think Julius might be done for the year. He's got a little bit of a bone problem down in his shin area. I think it might be cracked that kind of way. That's what the initial diagnosis was. And if that is the case, then we're going to go about the task of fixing it. It's got to calm down for a couple of days before they can really get a good, definite answer on exactly what the situation is. And then after that, then they're going to probably fix it. But we think if it is that, then we're still in the window where you can still redshirt a guy for medical reasons that way. And if that is the case, then we go through that process and Bishop will give him another year.
And how does that change your rotation?
Well, I think we bring Dondre Brown back to tailback. We moved Andre last week because the American Aircraft were all kind of banged up doing practice last week. But all those guys seem to be back. Devin Flowers is back. Tamara came away practice a little bit this morning. So it looks like all those guys are back. So we're going to probably try to move Dondre back to tailback. So our tailback right now situation is probably going to be Taylor, Brown, maybe Brown, Quick, you know, all over there. I don't know exactly the exact order, but those four guys would probably get most of the work.
You mentioned in the preseason that in order for you guys to be really marked improve this year, you have to improve in the running game. After 2 games, what's your assessment about that?
I think you see signs of it. I think you see signs of the fact that our running game is going to be improved. I'd like to think that we'll continue to get better from here. We had a fairly decent running game going against Coastal. We didn't quite have a 100-yard rush, but we had one guy over in the high 80s, I think, and another guy maybe in the 50, 60, somewhere in that neck of the woods, rushed about 200 yards against them. And you want to kind of get into about the 200-yard range as kind of a measure that you need to try to use as a goal for each game that way. If we can continue to develop that particular run style, then I think that you'll see the numbers start to pick up in a way where you'll see some marked improvement that way.
What's your read on the toughness of the team overall?
The toughness of this team, let me tell you something. This is one of the toughest.